Hi, this is Greg with Spates Painting, and today I am working on a glaze wiping stain in the highlighting of this cabinet door, and we're going to be putting the stain in here. I already went through and I painted the door gray because this customer wanted a gray base instead of a white base, and then we're putting a black wiping stain. I use Old Masters wiping stain, and I do add a little bit of polyurethane in the stain. That way it will help it freeze up on the product as it dries, and that way it won't smear or anything after you're finished. So we'll basically start with a small 1-inch putty brush with a tapered end, and I do like to have cardboard around so I can just take off some of the excess, and then I'll follow the lines here. It's okay if it goes outside the line. I do try to stay as clean as I can in the lines because it saves you a lot of wiping time. And if you're doing a lot of cabinets, you're doing a lot of wiping. So I try to make my lines as clean as possible. But technically you could be messy and it'll still wipe off. And I try not to have any skippers. Skippers are like when you go along here and then you have like miss it there. You want to keep a nice clean straight line so it stays consistent when you wipe. And as you can tell, this is kind of a small drawer face, but you'll see it still is kind of a timely process, especially if you're trying to do a really nice job. In this job, I'm trying to keep the dark lines a little more prominent, so I'm going to be a little more cautious on the pressure when I'm wiping it. As I go, you'll see I'm going to move this out to the edge so I can cleanly come all the way across. On this edge here, I'm not actually pushing all the way in because I'm trying to leave more of the black in the highlight, and if you go like this and go completely on top of it, it basically kind of wipes most of it out. It still looks great, but we're trying to leave a little more black in there than normal. This one up here doesn't have a lot of deep curve, so it wipes out quite a bit more than this one here. So once again, it's just using light pressure to keep more of the stain in there. Keep moving your rag around. I like to use soft cotton rags, and it's okay to like take some of this and lightly smoke it into the paint. Gives it a real nice effect. Once again, I'm just hitting the corner, top corner of this to keep so all the stain doesn't wipe out. Once again, pulling this off. This is just a paint bucket I have underneath to keep it up off so I can work all the corners. And I'm just smoking the edges. It goes on a little dark at first, but you just take a clean part of your rag and go ahead and wipe it off and get it to the tone that you want. And it's okay if it's not perfectly consistent because this is like artwork. And it's kind of to your flavor. You're the artist. You make it the way you want. Also, another thing to keep in mind is it's hard to go backwards if you stain it too dark. So on the body of the door, it's always good not to go too dark, because when you hang them all with the rest of the doors, it kind of comes together. And if you do it too dark, you might end up with a darker kitchen than you want. You can always technically come back and rub out the faces and make it a little darker if you like later. But it's super hard to go backwards. You basically would have to repaint the doors, and I don't think anybody really wants to spend that much time going backwards. So now that I got most of the edges done here, they're not done completely. As they dry, they get really nice to work with. So now I've been holding it in place with my hand here, so I saved the center for last. I've been working all the edges, and I'm working the way all the way in. So now we're going to take some of the excess stain that we have on our rag, and we're going to basically just start rubbing it in here. And I do have some over here, so I can actually dab a little bit. You don't want a whole lot. Kind of just smear it around. And this is just adding a nice color to the rest of the door. It's going to actually change the tone of the gray paint. And we don't really want to antique it necessarily. We're just like smoking it in a little bit because we want it to have a modern look. Now I always keep another rag over here, and it has a little bit of paint thinner. This is mineral spirits. And if you ever see anything that too dark or what have you in it, you can always take a little rag with the mineral spirits and it will just neutralize it. So I want to blend this in a little better, so I'm using this rag. It's kind of dry with paint thinner, it's not real wet. And so it's almost like, I would say, putting on makeup. It's basically putting on a nice base fog coat. So you do not see any brush marks or anything. You just see a nice blended color. Now some of these edges are not perfectly clean, so I can take this paint thinner rag and I can simply go in the center here to kind of get the center pieces clean, and it'll start bringing in those lines. Last time through here. This door's looking really good. Clean up these lines a little bit. I did use a eggshell finish paint. I didn't use semi-gloss. The eggshell finish paint helps your stain to stick a little better, and plus it's shiny enough to keep the stain open so you can work with it. Now this door is finished. I think it looks great. You have some nice dark lines on the outside, some tapered lines on the inside, and some nice color in the center. If you see any